Hi everyone, hope you're well. Welcome to the first episode of Papercrafting Australia, trialling our first subscription box. Thank you very much for being part of a bit of an experiment. I can see we've got 4 people online at the moment, so I'm just going to kind of chat a little bit till we've got a couple of other people in here. I have a good feeling that I put the wrong link into the email that I sent to you all, so first fail down. There's going to be a few kind of trial and error things that go along as I learn what it looks like to go live streaming. In the past I've done live classes, and obviously other than rocking up to the right place and other people rocking up, that's kind of a little bit easier in person than it is to do an online one where I've kind of got to keep an eye on a few different screens and things going on and get things right. So fingers crossed. If you're in YouTube at the moment, jump into the live chat, say hi. I've actually got a moderator in the chat today. It's actually my fantastic mum Sharon, so make sure you say hi to her. If you've got any questions, she's going to keep an eye on that chat as we go along and hopefully be able to answer your questions. If not, I'll kind of save it for coming back to it a little bit later in the stream. So a little bit about me, I guess. For me, why did I start doing this? 4 or 5 years ago, I started learning paper crafting, or just kind of getting involved in what is known as paper crafting or card making. So that kind of got me enthusiastic. I started to go to classes and things like that and learn a few techniques, but then I kind of switched into just learning things online on YouTube myself. And a little while after that, I kind of got a little bit disheartened that the kits that I was seeing people being able to buy in America weren't available here unless you did some kind of weird drop shipping thing where you get it sent to some other address in America and then get it sent here, because we couldn't get it sent here to Australia. Now what I found is with those kits also, you just get a kit of materials. You get a bit of an A4 piece of paper with some instructions on it, but if you're a beginner or you don't know what to do with those bits and pieces, there's no instruction for you. So I kind of lost a bit of heart, I suppose, with those kind of boxes that you could buy, and I just turned straight to watching YouTube tutorials and learning techniques from that. But part of that frustrated me as well, in that I could watch these fantastic techniques being displayed, but I didn't have those exact products to be able to use. So I found I wasn't getting the same results, and I wasn't able to compare what was going on the screen with what I was achieving in person and go, have I mastered this technique or am I just making it up? Now, craft is all about just winging it, doing your own thing, but sometimes there are techniques that you kind of want to achieve that outcome, and it's hard to do that if you haven't got the same products. It's hard to know if you're on the right track, and without being face to face, it's really hard to know what you've got. So for me, this kind of little idea of getting a bit of a box kit together, sending it out, and having a bit of a play and seeing what people like about it, what could be changed. Is it actually a product that people want to buy, or is it just me who wants these kind of things? It was a really good way to just kind of, not spend a lot of money, to just get the kits out and go from there. So my plan at the moment is we'll go through the October trial. No doubt about it, I'll learn a whole lot of things from then, and I'll hopefully be able to implement that into the first 3 boxes for 2021, which I'm already in the process of planning. So the first one in January, I'll let you in on a little secret, it's going to be a black and white theme. But what I want to do is get feedback from you guys along the way, which is why you'll get a bit of a survey at the end of each video. Hopefully you learn a lot, hopefully you have a lot of fun along the way, and we'll go from there. Linda, hello, I can see you're in there. You're obviously skiving off the game day today. That's interesting. My partner actually runs D&D games, so he's in the middle of a session at the moment, so hopefully our broadband can hold up. If something for whatever reason does go pear-shaped today, what we'll do, I'll jump offline, I'll pre-record a video of the rest of the session, and I'll upload it back for you. So don't panic if it all goes really bad. Fingers crossed it shouldn't. The only other thing that might ruin my day is that the room that I'm broadcasting from actually is right next door to my fence with my neighbour, and it is a beautiful sunny day here in Melbourne. We're all locked down, but we're all doing home projects, and my neighbour is definitely one of those men who is doing so many projects around the house. He's built a deck on the back patio, he's done a whole lot of concreting and things, planted gardens. It is, yeah, he's likely to make some kind of noise, or I might have a ladder bang against the fence or something like that. So fingers crossed that doesn't go too bad. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to work you through the 2 cards that we have got. So if I just bring those up for you. So these are the 2 Christmas cards that we're going to work on today. So one being the bauble card and the other one being the Merry Christmas card. So it's not too busy. They shouldn't take us too long, which is a good start. And hopefully along the way I can go relatively slowly so that people can, keep up with what we're doing. Don't panic if you fall behind. The best thing that I've found about being able to look at these tutorials online is that you've got the ability to just stop what you're doing, take a pause, come back to it later and watch it. So once the live stream's over, it will actually upload the full video, and then you'll be able to just pause it where you've gotten that bit where you go, all right, Tangi did it way too quickly. I can just pause that, but I know what I'm doing, or I just need to watch what she was doing again just to kind of, get a bit of an idea about, how to do it, or just watch it 2 or 3 times just to get your head around what's happening. Hi Mel, everyone's got snacks. Excellent, that's really good. I'm just having a quick read of the chat. So far, so good. So what I'll do is I'll bring you over to my work desk, which is currently very clean. And I'll just pop in front. This is the card that we're going to start with first. So we're going to start with the Merry Christmas one. And there's a couple of bits that I'm actually going to modify on today's example. So you can make the examples exactly as they are on the screen, or you can make them the modified way of how I do it today. But there is a little bit of prep that I'm going to need to do for some of the bits. So first I'm going to take the little sentiment black card that we've got. I'm just going to pop that little example up there in the corner so that we can all see what we're kind of working towards, but it's out of the way for what I'm trying to do. I'm going to take my scissors, and what I'm going to do, so for this one, what have I done on here? We wish you a. Now you can choose any of the sentiments on here if you would prefer to put, jingle all the way, or, there's not a lot that kind of work with the Merry Christmas that don't already say Merry Christmas in them. So depending on what you like, you can choose from this sheet. So I'm just going to do exactly what I did previously, which was the We Wish You a. So I'm just going to take my scissors and cut this out and try and get it straight. Sometimes I'll use a guillotine or another paper trimmer to do this kind of thing, but today I'm just kind of trying to use what you guys will have at home as well, just to make it a little bit similar. I'm just going to trim that up because I have cut wonky. Always a good start. Trim that off and a little bit off the end. Now what I am also going to do, oops, that's my ruler, is I'm going to also cut the Season's Greetings one for the second card that we're going to work on today. Now, I'll show you in a second why I'm going to do that, because the ink takes a little bit longer to dry from this ink pad than I would prefer, and I'm just going to get them inked and then out of the way. So I'll just pop this one back and I'll cut out Season's Greetings. I'm not cutting on the screen, which is, yep, helpful. Chop a little bit up here, and Season's Greetings. Okay. Now hopefully no one's behind yet. We don't really know. I am cutting very wonky today. Must be these new scissors. Really wonky. Okay, that's a little bit neater. So I'm just going to pop this little sentiment strip away because we don't need that anymore. What I will get you to do though is save that for next week and for the week after and the week after that. So just save it for the rest of the series because there will be some things that we'll use those for. Now, what I'm going to get you to do is take your ink pads. So these are the ink pads that you would have got. You would have gotten one or the other, a black one or a red one. I've got both because I can. These aren't, by the way, the actual ink pads that I will go with. This was just what was available in a retail sense that wasn't going to blow my budget for the initial trial. So what I've found is that the inks actually take a lot longer to dry than I would like, which is why we're going to do these little bits first. Now, what I want to do on these is I just want to cover the white edge. God, I'm not even showing you this on camera. So the little white edge that goes around, you might like it and you might be quite happy to leave it there. On this one, I've actually made it a little black edge. So to do that, what I've done is just taken the ink pad and then just dabbed it on the side of the cardboard, just all the way around so that you can actually, just make that black. Bear in mind that as you come around, you're going to end up getting ink on your fingers because this ink isn't drying as quickly as some will. Now, because I did black on my other ones, I thought I'd be a little bit different today and I'll have a go at the red. It's not something that I've done much of in the past. So it's just this little kind of motion just to, and you can see that there. So the edge of that is now red. It's just a little bit of a highlight, nothing too crazy bonkers, and just do that edge along there and the end. And I'm just going to sit that aside to dry while we get on with the rest of the card. And I'm also going to do the, so I've done that one for the second card, and I'm just going to quickly do this one for the card that we're about to start working on, and we'll go from there. So hopefully you're all going really well with this kind of technique. You've cut out straight and now you're kind of applying some ink pretty carefully. You will, like I've already done, get it all over your nails and your fingers and things. That is where, I'll just get one of these out. This is where baby wipes come in really handy. They're really good at just wiping off any excess ink off your hands, off your work surfaces if you're getting a bit messy down there. And it's, like a hard surface, not a porous surface that you're working on. But see how you go. I've noticed I've gotten a little bit of red on the front of my piece of card, but I'm just going to have to wear that one. So next what we're going to do is we're going to take the actual card. So I've pre-folded these ones for you just so that they would fit into your boxes. And we've got the red and white striped cardstock. It is double-sided paper, so if you're looking at it and you're finding a little combi or a tree or anything like that, you've got it the wrong way around, so just pop it that way. It has been die cut out for you with the same die that I cut this one from, which is the Merry Christmas in the red glittery cardstock. And because I wasn't being too mean, I've actually turned that into a sticker for you so that you don't have to apply glue to the back of that and muck around too much. So these are the bits that we're going to kind of get together. Now, in the first example that I've done, I've actually used the whole piece exactly how it was when I cut it. So it's, ends up by the time you put it all together, it's pretty much the full card is decorated. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm actually going to chop 2 centimeters off the bottom just to bring this down and make it a little bit shorter and give me a little bit more space to put my We Wish You at the top. And then I might pop some of these little jewels around the top instead of on the stripes that I did last time. Just to show you, there's different ways of being able to do, kind of use the same products but just come up with a different idea. It's all about being creative. So what I will do is I'm just going to take this lovely little red and white striped piece of paper that we've got. I'm just going to measure out 2 centimeters. So this is why we were asked for a pencil and a ruler today. So I'm just going to very gently mark out 2 centimeters. Don't push too hard on your card because you will actually go through the cardstock, and then you'll end up with an ugly line on the back. And if it ends up not being exactly what you wanted, then you've marked the card and you can't really change your mind. So I'm just going to draw a sweet little line there. Again, normally I'd use a paper trimmer or something to cut this, but I'm going to use exactly the same tools that you're going to be using there at home. And I'm just going to cut that into a nice straight line. Hopefully it's straight. I haven't had any alcoholic drinks this morning, so we should be all good. Again, this is a scrap piece of paper. If you decide to cut yours off or you decide to leave it full, totally up to you. This I'm going to save because in the coming projects we might be able to use it. Pop that aside. So now that I've got this lovely smaller piece of red and white striped paper, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a piece of just photocopy paper, scrap paper, something that you can make a little bit of a mess on. And by make a bit of a mess on, I'm talking about using some glue. So normally I wouldn't use this kind of glue, but I wouldn't use liquid white glue like this either. Now the reason for that, the liquid glue can actually leave like lumps and things like that in your paper. So what we're trying to achieve with this is to get a nice flat look. Normally what I would use is a little bit of a tape runner. So it's like just a sticky tape dispenser, and you just run it over and it just has a really nice flat kind of application. But for today, just because we're all kind of trying to save a little bit of money with this trial, I've just got the glue, which obviously will give you a nice flat surface. The other thing you want to do is use something that is going to give you a little bit of wiggle room in case you plonk it down in the wrong spot. So take your glue stick and just apply a nice little bit all the way around the edges. See, I'm just going off the edge there, so it's, hence why I've got my piece of paper down. You could use a piece of printer paper, you could use a bit of newspaper if you want, although newspaper or magazine paper might rub off some kind of colour onto your cardstock. So it's generally advised to use something that's quite plain and isn't going to mark anything for you. So I'm just going to pop that aside and take my card. Now you'll notice that the purple glue, it is purple at the moment, but it will dry clear. You can just kind of rub any kind of residue that you've got on the top of there with your fingers. It will clear up later on. Okay, so I'm just going to hold this down. It's, as you can see, it's not cut to fit all the way to the edge. We do like to have a little bit of a border. And now I'm just going to try and match the same width of that border to the bottom. So the same amount on the sides to the same amount on the bottom. It's totally up to you. If you want to put it all the way to the bottom because you can line it up there and that looks better than something that's crooked, go for it. This is your time to play. I'm just showing you one way that it can be done. So just smooth that all down. That's nice and flat. Now you can take your red glitter Merry Christmas, take it off of the backing paper that I've popped it on, and you'll notice that it's quite sticky on the back. Just pop that in my little bin. Okay. So this again, you'll notice that there's, I don't know if you can see that there, some of the sticker has actually kind of gone in between all of my letters. And that's just because it's a really fine kind of thing. You can use a pencil to kind of go in and clean some of that up and just kind of push it back to the back side of the sticker. But you can also kind of clean that up once you've popped it on. So I'm just going to go ahead, give that a bit of a line up. So it should line up relatively evenly. It's not quite as long as the striped paper. Just pop that on, flatten it down, make sure it's all stuck there, and you're good to go. So then I've got those little bits of glue that are stuck in there. They will, if you rub them, they'll kind of ball up and dry up a bit, and you'll be able to clean that up. I'm not going to waste too much time doing that at the moment because we've got plenty more to get on with. So the next thing that I'm going to get out is we've got these little foam adhesive squares, and that's what's going to kind of attach, they're double-sided, so they're going to attach the little sentiment strip that we cut before, and that will put those on. So for this one, I did just pop three little strips on the back. Just tap the edges of your sentiment and just double check. I mean, I think I'm still getting a little bit of ink come off that, but it should be mostly dry by now. See how you go. Just wipe my hands so I don't get it. No, it doesn't look like there's much on there. Okay, so I took 3 of these. So if you just peel them off their backing, pop one in the middle, one on each end. Sometimes the fingers don't work so well. You can get larger ones of these, so I'm very keen to know if people think that these were too small and they would prefer bigger ones. I'll make it a survey question later on. So just take off the little backing strip, so you'll have the backing paper there. Again, I don't have any fingernails, so sometimes this takes me a bit and I get a bit frustrated with it, but just remove those. And then we're at the point where once we've got all 3 of those, hold it up the right way. And then you just need to work out where you think you would like to put your little sentiment. So I think the last one was in the middle, so I think what I might do is pop mine a little bit off to the left. So once you've found the perfect spot, just gently push those down and they'll stay adhered for you. Okay, so pop your little stickers aside. You will need those for the second project today as well, so make sure they stay handy for you. Last thing we're going to do on this card for the moment is adhere some of the gems. So on your gems, you've got some gold, green, red, silver ones, and some pearl ones. Now, for the example that I did, I've just taken some of the silver and some of the red, and I've just applied them in a bit of a random pattern, or not so random, depending on how you go. It's just 3 lines of gems, and I've just popped them on corresponding red or white stripes. But that's up to you as to what you want to do. What I will say is that whilst they are stuck to the little plastic sheet that they come on, they don't actually come off with the sticky stuck to it. So what you'll need to do, I like to use tweezers, but sometimes they're a little bit fiddly, is just to take those off. They'll muck around. And you'll notice that they will stick to your finger because that's what happens with little glittery things. But they won't actually, if you put that on your card, it's not going to stay there. I can move that really easily. So to adhere them, what you can do is take your little white glue. This is just normal PVA glue. It dries clear, so if you get a little bit more than you would like in one spot, don't panic. And what we're going to do is under where you want to put one of these gems is just to put a small dab of glue and then lift your gem onto it. So what we'll do, I'm actually going to pop one on this star. So just a small dab of glue. Be sure to pop the cap back on your glues between uses. You don't know how long it's going to be before you decide to use another bit of glue again. You don't want it to dry up and be all yuck. So I'm just going to take my tweezers, grab the little gem, pop it on that little ball of glue that I've made there, and that's my first gem that I've placed. So grab yourself a pair of tweezers. Sorry I didn't put that on the list at the start. I should try and do that more often. And then I'm just going to find a few spots to put some other gems. So I think a good spot is all of these stars. Now that I've done one, I'll just pop a couple there. But feel free to put them wherever. You can do the stripes like I did. Try not to go overboard and use all of them. There are some of the other projects that you have coming up in the next couple of weeks will use some of these other gems. So, oops, that's gone upside down. Very clever. Again, that white glue will dry clear, so the fact that it's on top won't matter so much. Okay, and I'll pop one more. I can get it to lift up cleanly just onto that spot there. There we go. So for today, that's all I'm going to do because I don't want to bore you with putting 25 of these on and the time it takes to do that. But over time, I'll just pop that little bubble that's there. Over time, plonk them wherever you like. You can pop them up here on the white space. Your card might still be way up, so you might have lots of space down here that you can put them in. You know, you might want to put yellow and green ones on there just to make it a little bit more jazzy. It's totally up to you how you want to decorate these. Okay, so I'm going to pop that one aside because it is going to take a little while to dry with that PVA glue on there. And we'll get started on the next card. So I'm just going to clear my space and bring back the next one. That'll give you time to finish off what you're doing at the moment and then come back. Okay, so we're all doing well. I'll just... Why is cutting straight so hard? I'm just checking the messages. It's very... I love that comment. It's, yep. And the minute you're on camera, it's even harder. I'll just give you that tip. Cool. Hopefully, we're all having a bit of fun. Eating the snacks. You're probably not getting too much time to eat snacks at the moment, so you'll have to save them for later. Sorry about that. Okay, so the second card that we're going to make today is the bauble card, which is kind of cute. Don't ask me who the little girl is. I've just Google imaged her. I just Google imaged Santa girl, and that's what came up. So I just printed her out. If anyone knows her, fantastic. She's cute. She's probably about 20 years older than that now, but who knows. So for this card today, I'm going to make the alternative. And the alternative is that rather than having a photo in the middle, I'm actually going to stamp one of the sentiments off my stamp set. So everyone's got a stamp set in their kits. So I'll put that somewhere where the light's not reflecting on it. So I'm going to stamp that to pop into my bauble. So first of all, what I'm doing is I'm just going to double check which one's going to fit the best, and something that's going to go with the sentiment that I chose earlier, which was Season's Greetings. Now, if that was something that I went, you know what, sorry, I'm just reaching across my desk, I'd actually prefer to have, you know, warmest wishes, then you can cut that one out and pop that one on instead. Or you want to put Holly Jolly, and you've got a particular stamp set that's something different, then you can stamp that, change your greeting over and pop that on. That's totally up to you. Customize it however you would like to. Okay, I'm just going to pop that aside because I am just going to make one that's pretty stock standard, Season's Greetings, and I think I might go with Deck the Halls. So I'll just pop that aside. Now you've got two circles. If you are going down the path of you've got a photo that you want to pop in yours, all you need to do is take the photo, and I gave you two of these for a couple of reasons. One, that you can use it to trace around. So pop this onto the photo, trace around on the photo. That way you know you can cut out exactly where you want to, and then it will fit behind the bauble frame, because this is they're just ever so slightly a little bit smaller. So by the time you cut that on the line, it'll probably line up exactly right. So if you've got your photo and you wanted to do a photo, go for it. Trace around that one, cut it out, and you'll be ready to join us once we've finished stamping. For anyone who hasn't chosen a photo, hasn't got one, or just wants to have a bit of a play, you don't have to go ahead with this. You've got a couple to do. But just to teach you a little bit of a couple of ways to use the stamps, I'm just going to peel off the backing sheet and take out the little rubber stamp. So everyone's got different ones. You might not have Deck the Halls, you might have something completely different. Mine are a bit black at the moment because I have stamped a few times with them to make some of the examples for the next couple of weeks. And you can also use your baby wipe to give those a bit of a clean, and actually that did need a little bit of a clean. When you first open your stamps as well, what you'll often find is if you were to put ink straight onto that stamp, it actually won't stick straight away, and you'll end up with little bubbles, and it won't be a very smooth imprint. So I find it best if you've got either a a cloth, like I use this one. Yeah, it's quite dirty. And just give it a bit of a rub. It kind of rubs the film from the manufacturing process off the top of it. I've also found that some you can just rub with your thumbs, and the skin contact kind of rubs the kind of top layer off. It won't rub any further than it needs to, but that will just give you a little bit of a better surface ready to start stamping. So if you take your stamp, and this is where we'll start to use the clear acrylic stamp block that came in your kit. Now I like to use mine with the line side down to help me to line up exactly where I'm going to go. So if you've got anything straight in your area, it might be your scrap piece of paper that you can kind of line up a bit of a straight line. Then you can use the straight lines on your stamp block to also help you to line it up, and that's lining it up vertically as well as horizontally. Or you might just be, I just want to stamp, let's go. So there's no right or wrong, it's whatever you feel comfortable with. But if you do line things up with something straight, when you're doing something on a circle, it's kind of fine, because as long as you get it in the middle, you can turn it to the right angle. If you were stamping on something that was square, like for example this piece of paper, and you wanted it to kind of land in the middle but not like this, then using these lines to kind of line it up so that it's straight will actually help you to get a straighter stamp. So make sure that you've got your stamp facing down the right way. Put your lines on your acrylic block facing down, and then just come over the top of the stamp and give it a bit of a push, and that will adhere the stamp to the acrylic block. Now when you're finished stamping and you've cleaned it all off, you'll be able to just pull that straight off. You might find that over time they sometimes get a little bit not sticky. Now the best way to give them a bit of a cleanup is to give them a bit of a rinse in some warm soapy water, and then just leave them out to dry. And that'll kind of clean off any residue that's floating around, and give you back a little bit of a more sticky surface to stamp with. So I'm just going to turn that over. So the stamp is now facing up, and I'm going to take the red stamp. You can take the black one if that's what you've got in your kit. I'm going to prep this little circle ready to stamp on, and then I'm just going to take my little stamp pad, turn it over, and just dab it onto the stamp. So you'll be able to see the more I stamp, the more solid that colour gets. Now there is a point that you can go too far, but you'll kind of see where I've only tapped it once or twice, there's kind of not a great coverage. So I'll just kind of keep stamping. It's okay if you stamp onto the acrylic block, that's fine, but just dab that ink on until you think you've got a pretty good coverage. Then turn it over, hold it in a bit of a central position over your circle, push down, hold it down for a second or two, and then lift up, and you should have a really lovely impression. If you found that you haven't got the right impression, you know what? This cardstock has two sides. Turn it over, have another go, and you've got a spare one just in case you need 3 or 4 goes at it. So the other thing that you might want to do, and this is, we've already stamped once here, it's given you a pretty dark impression. If I then stamp that off again before that ink dries, I can get a lighter version of that same colour. So you can play around a little bit with how many times you can stamp the same colour. This one's a really light one. This one, see how because I rocked the acrylic block, it's kind of pushed a little bit of the ink out in the top, and then it's not really done a great deal of stamping at the bottom. So try and hold it as flat as you can and just push down on the stamp itself. Once you've stamped and you've got a good impression, one that you're happy to use for your stamps, give your stamp and the acrylic block just a little bit of a wipe down, just to clean it all off. And then I'm just going to put mine aside because I know I don't need to use that again for anything today. And I'll just go with this one. So I'm also going to cover back over my ink pad because I don't want that to dry up, and it will over time. Pop that aside. Clean up my workspace just a little bit so that you can all see what we're doing. So I'm then going to put the bauble together. Now to put the bauble together, we're just going to flip that gold bauble over onto its back. I'm going to take the white glue that I had earlier, and I'm just going to put on the inside edges of the little dotted line, just going to put a couple of little really small dots of glue. It doesn't matter if you get every one, and it only has to be a tiny amount. We're not kind of trying to hold together a 40-story high-rise building. It's just 2 pieces of paper. So just a little dab of glue around there. Pop the glue lid back on. And now turn your stamped circle over. Try to go fairly well straight on because you don't want that glue underneath to kind of leak out. But you will need to turn over, particularly if you're concerned about it being straight. Twist it a little bit, and that liquid glue will give you a little bit of movement before it dries. So I've kind of got that in the spot that I would like it to go into now that it's glued. Oops. So I can just stick it down. Now, if you want to take your stamp off your acrylic blocks are also the perfect thing to pop on top of something like that if you want to hold it nice and flat while you wait the few seconds for the glue to dry off on it. Cool. Now, the next part that we're going to get ready is the bows. Now, hands up, who's really bad at tying bows? Okay, so as you can see, it's quite a small bow, but we're going to need about 20 centimetres of this 30 centimetre piece of ribbon that you've been given in your packs. So we've got 30 centimetres there. Going to need about 20 centimetres, but if you start around the 10 centimetre mark to make your bow, then you should be okay. And then we can just trim that bit off, and then whatever's left you can use for the string at the top. So grab it around 10 centimetres, make a little bow on the right hand side, make a little bow on the left hand side. Then if you tie those 2 little loops together, just like that. And then you can muck around with these little ears, the bunny ears that we all got taught when we were tying our shoelaces. And then you can kind of match it up. So if you need that one to kind of match with this one, and then you could trim that off down about here. So I'm just going to do that again just in case I wasn't doing that very clearly. So just measure out with this ruler again to make sure I've got my 30 centimetres. The 10 centimetre spot is here. So I'm going to pick that up with the middle bit there. I'm just going to make a little bow. It could be a bit bigger if you like. It doesn't have to be puny. One little loop on the left hand side, one little loop on the right hand side. Doesn't matter which way you're starting to turn and twist things because we will all do that. You just have to have hold of it. And then just tie those 2 loops in a knot. Oops, missed. And the baby next door has started bawling. Excellent. So pull that into a loop, and then you'll be able to kind of jiggle it one way or another, and you'll be able to find a good spot to be able to make a bow. And so I know from being able to look at my example that I've got probably about, it's about 3 centimetres worth of ribbon on each side. But the main thing is, as long as you've got, 5 centimetres or so in here, you've got enough, and your bauble might just be a little bit higher or lower on the card. So it's no drama if you've used up more ribbon and you've got this much left. You only need a little bit. So you can actually make those bows quite generous. So I'm just going to go in here, grab your scissors, find a spot, cut that off. I like to cut mine on a little bit of an angle. Just make it really tight in the middle. I'm just going to cut a smidge off there because I've decided to be a little bit out of whack today. Keep that part because you are going to need that for affixing that one there, and keep your little bow there as well. Okay, so we've basically got all of the elements now to be able to put together the card. Hopefully you're all going well with tying your bows. Haven't stuck your fingers together yet, so you're happy. That's great. Can't hear the baby. Excellent. Well, I can. When she cries pretty well. But yeah, the neighbours will sort her out. They're pretty good. All right. So moving on and getting this all put together. So I'm going to get you to take the embossed card. So this is the embossed side, so the raised side that's got this sort of snow falling. You know, if you do it the other way, I don't know, you're going to have a lumpy back of the card, but it's up to you. So what I'm going to do is just fold that card back out, just so that it's all nice and flat. Oops, on the table. And I'm just going to pop my ruler down because it will kind of hold it in place. It's a little bit slippy on my surface here. Okay, so what we are going to do is we're now going to take this section of the ribbon that we cut off earlier, so the extra bit. I'm just going to cut a flat edge on the top, and that's going to be where I'm going to try and line that up with at the top of my card. I'm also going to try and do it kind of in the middle, so just fairly central. And then I've got my bauble with my sentiment on it, and I'm going to have a look at lining up where do I want that to go. So that's around the same spot that I had it last time. So I kind of need about that much ribbon on there. So I'm just going to trim that off because I don't need the extra bit sticking out underneath. Although, you know, you might like it, you might want it, you might want to cut a few more extra pieces and, I don't know, make a little frilly tutu for the bauble. I don't know, up to you. Okay, so I've cut that. I've cut the ribbon down. It's a decent length now. So what I'm going to do is just pop that on the table, get my little bit of liquid glue, and I'm just going to pop a few dots down here just to make sure that that ribbon really sticks to the card. We're going to have to run it over a few of these little lumps and bumps and things, so it just has to be fairly well stuck down. Excuse me. Got my little tweezers here because I don't want to get my fingers too gluey, but I'm sure some of you are, yep, good on you, Mum. Yep, sticky, inky fingers. Yeah, she's doing well. Okay. So just pop that down roughly where you think it's going to be. You'll be able to slide it up and down because that glue is liquid glue and it's still wet. And without me headbanging my light again, I'm just going to stick that down and then just use my tweezers to kind of push that down so that the glue's spreading out underneath and sticking to the card. So pop that down. Awesome. Okay. So once you've got that little part stuck down, what we're going to do is we're going to stick the bauble down. Now we're going to go back and use some of these foam squares again. The reason for that is we've got a little bit of thickness to get over with the ribbon, and we've also got a little bit of thickness to kind of even out with the dots on the embossed background. So grab your foam strips. I'd say you're probably going to use 6 to 8 on this one. So I'm just going to kind of go one in the middle, and then I'm just going to go either side of this little bauble hole because I am going to need to put one in that hole in just a moment. And then I'll do a little bit further around, another 2 here, and another one. Let's do 2. Excellent. That could have been a little bit more central. So you kind of got your 11 o'clock and your 1 o'clock. You've got a 3 o'clock and a 9 o'clock, and you've got a 5 o'clock and a 7 o'clock, approximately. Maybe not quite, sort of. Now with this one under the bauble, I'm going to take that off and stick it over that hole. Now there's not going to be a lot holding that on at the moment, but there is a little bit of method to my madness because it's what's going to actually attach your bow on top of that once we flip it over and put it down. So take the tape off and stick it to the tiniest little bit of your bauble loop that you can, and then you can go ahead and take off all of the little backing papers. And of course, fingernails will help, as will being coordinated. But it's all just a little bit of fun, and who doesn't love yelling at pieces of paper that don't want to do what you want it to do? Okay. Peel it off. That one, and then the bauble card, lucky last one. I can feel it sticking to my finger on the other side. So once you've got all of those backings off, you'll be able to position. Now, again, if you've bitten off too much ribbon and you want to start to hang it a little bit higher than you did before, which I might do on this one, because then I've got my sentiment will come in down the bottom here. Find a spot for it somewhere along the length of that ribbon where you're kind of happy with it, and then just place it down so that the bauble loop would be on top of the ribbon, and the rest is there. So what you'll be able to see is that that has now created a little bit of dimension to your card. So rather than it just being a flat, boring card, it's got a little bit of dimension to it, a little bit of fun. Just, it's definitely not a store-bought card. Take your ribbon, pop it onto, or the little knot there, onto where the sticky is under that bauble hole, and just push it down. Obviously there's foam under it, so you'll get a little bit of resistance, but you don't crush it, but make sure it's kind of stuck quite tight. If over a little bit of time, or if you've already touched that a little bit much and it's less tacky, you can put a little bit of your white PVA glue under there, and then pop it down. You will then need a little bit more time for it to dry. Okay, so we've gotten that part done. So the baubles there, that's looking great. Now we'll take the little sentiment that we cut before. I've cut Season's Greetings very crookedly, but you might have cut something else. So again, with that one, we're going to take some of the foam strips, foam squares. I think this time we might need 4, so I'll start at the end and do 1 on each end. Spin it around, and then I'll pop 2 roughly even quarters along that strip. Great. Okay, again, time to peel off the backing. So they stick to your fingers. They're very annoying. Okay, come on, play nicely. I need to grow my fingernails. That would be probably a bit helpful. 3, 1 to go. Ugh. Here we go. Excellent. All right, now just getting it up the right way. Again, you can choose where you want to put this. This example, it's quite centered and underneath, just filling up space. This one I'm just going to pop a little bit higher up. I'm still going to center it because I'm pretty OCD with that kind of stuff. And just pop that in there. Hopefully I've done it straight. You can use your ruler and kind of slide that up if you want to kind of get something that's a little bit straight and you don't trust yourself. Okay, pop that little ruler over there. Okay, now the last thing to do for this little card is just to pop some gems on there. Now this one that I had last time, I just put some of the pearls, the white pearls on, and just kind of mimicked them in the snowfall kind of pattern. So you can do exactly that if you would like. It's totally up to you. This is your project, you do what you want, but again, you will need to pop your liquid glue down so that you can do that. Today I've decided I'm going to use some of the gold ones, and I'm just going to use, I think, 5 of them. I'm just going to pop them around the bauble frame themselves. So I'm just going to pop 1 bit of glue here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put 1 here. Whoops. Blew a nice bubble for me. 1 here. Kind of trying to be symmetrical where I can. And 1 here. So just where I've popped those little glue dots is where I'm going to have a crack at putting my gold jewels today, if I can get them off the backing, which is always fun. It's so stretchy. There we go, that's just a bit easier to pick them off. They don't want to go. Okay, let's start with you. Look, there's one. Now, something to note, in our little group of people, we actually have, it's either 3 or 4 Rachels. So I think we kind of just need to all become the Rachels. There's a couple in Victoria. There's one in South Australia. Who else is in it? It's just all getting the new name Rachel. All right, how are we going with these? Is everybody fighting with their little jewels? I think there might be a few people saying some swear words. Mine's just hidden underneath my bauble, so I'll say a swear word. I know there are some younger people on the chat, so I'm not going to actually say the swear words. But if I ever get this last one, it'll be 3 hours worth of live streaming. Oh gosh, come on. Time for fingers. There we go. Pop that on. So that is me done for this one. Now you've all learnt how to stamp, and you've all got multiple stamps in your kit. That's the first thing I've dropped off my table today, which is pretty amazing. So if you did want to stamp a different greeting on the inside, by all means, take your stamps out. Just remember that you've got one shot with the inside of your card. So you could stamp a Merry Christmas there, and then you can write to such and such and write a nice thing and sign off down the bottom. The other thing that you can do, if you like, is you've all got an envelope to go with your cards. So you might like to put a stamp on the back of your envelope, making sure that you've still got, you know, space above or space below to be able to write your address on the back as the sender. You might want to pop it on the front, you know, up in the opposite corner to where your stamps would go. Just don't pop it down in this corner, because that's where the postcodes go, and that's where the scanners will try and read it from. And if you've got something else there, it gets a bit confused. But yeah, don't be afraid to jazz up your envelopes. Down the track, I will do a few classes on techniques for decorating envelopes, and there's a really, really wonderful crafter who does a lot of beautiful envelopes for what she calls Happy Mail, and that's just sending beautiful cards to her friends and family, and she likes to dress those up. So I'm going to leave those cards now, because that one does definitely need some drying time. Clean up a little bit of my space so that I can put my things out, and just kind of do a bit of a rundown of the cards that we did today. I was going to say, I don't know where I've put my other one of these, but this is the one that I made today, and this is the one that I did previously. So a few different options and a few different ways to lay things out. So, you know, for the bauble card, you know, slightly different position for the greeting and for the bauble itself, different positioning of the little jewels and the gems. I've got a sentiment stamped instead of a photo that I've brought along. But, you know, both cute. I think, anyway. Tell me if I'm wrong. And then, of course, we've got the 2 landscape cards that we've done. So this was the example that I did previously with gems all over and quite a bit of the candy stripe there. And then this one, I've moved the sentiment over, cut down the candy canes a little bit, and then I've put the gems just in a couple of little places so it's not quite so blingy. Often you find that if you're giving a card, particularly to a male, they might not like as much bling as some people might prefer. Of course, give me all the glitter, all the bling in the world. Just don't make anything pink. It's not my favourite colour. So I hope you've gone well. Don't forget, if you haven't managed to finish, you can go back and you can work on your stuff by watching the video back. I'm just going to jump back into a little bit of my face for you. So just a couple of things before we sign off. It's really, really helpful to me if once you are finished with your work, take a quick photo of it. Doesn't have to be amazing photos. Throw it up on the Facebook page. Under the Photos tab, there's an album called October 2020 Trial Kit Week 1, and you'll see the photo of the examples that we had before the class today. If you're extremely shy, email me a photo. And I promise I won't post that if you've emailed it to me. But it's really great to be able to build a bit of a bank of images for everyone to learn. Part of it is for me to make sure that I'm kind of looking at, well, you know, I can see where you've decided to make a decision to make something different. You know, if you've put something in a different spot or whatever, but I can also see if you've had a little bit of trouble with a particular technique, and that will help me as someone who's teaching to be able to kind of go, did I rush that? Did it not make sense? Because clearly people have done things a lot different. But it also creates a bit of a community, and that's what I'd really love to foster, is a really good community where people can like each other's posts, make a short comment. Obviously it'd be better if it's positive, but you know, sometimes it's constructive criticism. You know, someone might have an ink smudge somewhere and someone says, do you know what, I know how to get rid of that. And people can share little hints and tips and ideas about, you know, do you know what, instead of getting rid of it, just put a gem on it, or, you know, add another piece of paper to this section of it, or blend in another color of ink. There's so many ways that we can fix our mistakes that it's really, really helpful if people do share those kinds of things. The other thing that will really help me is that later today I'll send you all a fairly short survey, fingers crossed it's a short survey, just about how you found things so far. Any extra you know, information that you can give me about things that didn't go to plan, that you really liked, that worked really well for you, would be really helpful. So even though a lot of the questions will be tick the box, where there's a box for you to provide information, please give me as much as you can. If you find that the boxes aren't big enough for you and you want to tell me something that you think would really help, then throw it in an email and throw that to me. That would be really helpful to help me to understand how this process is working, and to you know, to be able to grow this as a concept and as hopefully as a business. I'm just going to have a really quick look at the comments just to make sure. We've got Rachel SA represent. Oh yes. Good tip, Sharon. Cut the sticky strip between the jewels and put them on your project. I didn't find that it was particularly sticky on the other side, but maybe not. Yeah, cool. So if you've got any questions, by all means, get in touch with me. Put them on the Facebook page. I'll definitely have a look at them later on. There are lots of kind of posts that I'm putting up at the moment, just reminders to, you know, that class is coming up. Don't forget that there will be at least one of your classes that I'd love for you to not attend live, but please don't make that everyone on the same day, because that would feel really awful broadcasting to nobody. But yeah, look, it's been really great today, just learning, even getting to this point, learning how to get the kits prepped, find suppliers, make up a concept and an example for you. I hope that you really like the examples and that they will be useful for you to give to someone for Christmas this year, or to pop in a little frame or pop on a little stand and put it on your mantelpiece just to kind of decorate the place. Next week, I'll bring up that little slide. Next week we've got the session. It's on Thursday night this week at 7 p.m. Daylight Saving Time. We're going to make 4 gift cards. So the photos that I've got there for you are the front and the backs. Things that you'll kind of be able to do with those is really customize the heck out of them. So if you've got anything else laying around that's not in your kit, you can absolutely use bits and pieces that you've got from home. I'm even happy for you to cut up some of the white tissue paper that came in your kit to add to those. You can tear open one of your paper bags. that you've got for your, I think it's actually, unfortunately, it's week 3 and week 4, so you might have to empty one of them and put it into week 1's little plastic bag. That would work, and then you can actually use the brown paper from the paper bag that your week 3 and 4 come in. The other thing I want to just let you know is that I have got my shop live, so that's papercraftingaustralia.com. There's not a lot in there, but I'm adding a lot of stock at all times, and there's a lot of stock that that is on its way. So if you are keen to, you know, do more of this kind of stuff, and you want to kind of support my opportunity that I'm trying to build for myself, that would be really appreciative. The biggest thing I can ask is just to share Facebook, share the YouTube videos, talk to people that you kind of hang out with, and just sort of say, look, hey, my friend's doing this thing. It'd be really awesome if you could, share it to anyone who would be interested. That would be great. Quick thanks to my mum, Sharon, for moderating and being in the comments today. You guys have been really quiet, so I hope that you've actually been head down, bottom up doing the craft, and that it's all been working really well for you. But thanks, Mum. Could not do that kind of stuff without you. Even though you're doing it from interstate, it's fantastic that we've got that technology. Anyway, I hope you've all had a great time. Let me know how it went for you. Don't wave because I can't see you, but bye for this week, and I'll catch you next week. Thanks.